All right, all right, all right. Guys, here we are, episode 11 on the Pwncast, breaking it into those double digits here on the Pwncast. Really exciting times here. This gentleman, I mean, he's generated quite a bit of buzz in the Outlands community lately with Outland Malls. I know you guys know him very well. He's also out there in the ocean just sinking people, both players and NPC boats alike. But you guys know him as either Gankstar or Blackbeard. But go ahead, Gankstar, tell us just a little bit about yourself, man.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So as you can hear, I'm Swiss. I'm not a Native American, so sorry for that. Or I can greet everyone with the Swiss way, which is grüezi. So that's, I
Gritzy.
guess, grüezi. Yeah, very good.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. Yeah, you're already Swiss. Welcome.
There we go. Yes.
If you eat chocolate and cheese, then you're already like 80% Swiss.
That's me, man. That's me. And Swiss cheese is my favorite cheese too. So
Perfect. And here comes the best part. There's even chocolate with alcohol inside. So you can have whiskey in the chocolate. That's
I'm
super
moving.
nice.
I'm moving. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
So
so
go ahead, keep going.
Gangster is my in-game name, or Blackbeard on the ocean. I sink people, but I also get sunk quite a few times, so that's part of the game. But it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm enjoying it a lot, and yeah, I mean, I'm boating most of the time right now, but I guess most of you probably know me from all the spam on Discord, like, hey, rent a vendor at my mall, please, please.
Yep.
Or Outland Malls is probably the other way that you might have heard my name.
Yeah, Outland Malls for sure. I definitely want to talk a little bit about that, or quite a bit about that actually. But before that, I mean, what really got you into gaming? And then, do you remember some of the early games that you played?
Yeah, I mean, I started, I think it was when I was a kid. My mother bought me like this Commodore computer thingy, and I was playing on that. And then later on, I played Game Boy, like I guess most of us. And I moved on to all the consoles, so Nintendo, was it N64 and all this stuff. So, and then when we were teenagers and I went to the college, I had a bunch of friends there and we were all hooked to gaming. And there was a game shop in Zurich, and there were a bunch of like 20-year-olds. And I mean, we were like 15. And we always went there during the lunch break, and they were pitching, like, hey, we just got this really cool game from the US. And it was like, whoa, so cool. And like, so what did you get? It's called Ultima Online. And we were like, whoa, the name. And then he was like, and it's an online game. And then like, question mark, what's an online game? It's like you play with people live on a server that is not in your direct neighborhood. And it's like, whoa, so cool. So you need to connect with your computer to the internet to play the game. And that's how I got into gaming, and just this idea to play with people from anywhere, basically.
So it was
It's
like
still fascinating.
it's like an internet cafe, basically, and you would go there and play games, and
Yeah,
that's where you were introduced to Ultima Online.
yeah, because we didn't have, I mean, the internet that we had back then was pretty crappy,
Okay.
and it took some time until we got cable. And I did have ISDN at home, but yeah, it was really expensive to stay online all the time. My mom was yelling at me when she got a huge telephone bill. So that's
Yeah.
why we went to Zurich and we played there with the guys from the shop. And it was really, really cool.
So okay, that's really interesting. So did you have to end up purchasing your own copy of Ultima Online? Did they have like different account? Okay, so you did purchase your
Yeah,
own.
yeah,
Um, and then the next question would be, I played on Atlantic, right? Was there a different set of servers for over there? Yeah, there was. Do you remember what the
yeah.
name of the server you played on?
Yeah, so but this was introduced later on. First, we all started on the US servers, and then afterwards, when they realized, well, there's also Europeans who might be interested to play, they added the Drachenfels. It's like a German server,
Okay,
which was
Crumpet
added
played
later
there.
on.
Yeah, Crumpet, I
Yeah.
think, played on that. Okay, well, I don't know. Was there a VPN back then? There probably wasn't. You just straight
Mm,
connected and had terrible connectivity, right?
super. Yeah, and I mean, like everyone's running like this, and you're like, so
Mhm.
we were easy prey for everyone to be killed. But I was not even at that stage yet to really PvP with others, because when I started playing, I mean, for me, this whole concept was so new. So I created my char, I went to the nearest forest, and there was like an ogre. I was like, haha, I'm gonna bash this ogre. So I went into the forest and I started smashing it. I just saw my health bar bump, bump, bump going down. I was like, oh my God, what should I do? So I detached my computer because I thought if I disconnect, then I'm going to basically have time to think what to do next, log back in and run away. But obviously, well, yeah, you log back in and then you're a ghost.
Your
So,
ghost, yeah.
yeah.
That's good, man. And you also you didn't really get as much playtime as a lot of other people because you had to go somewhere, and you kind of said it was during your lunch break or whatever. I'm sure later on it went to after school and everything as well,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit more difficult right there, I bet. So,
Yeah.
was there ever like limitations of like, oh, there's no computers open or anything like that, and you'd have to wait or come back or anything?
Well, luckily it was that new that not many people knew about this. I think
Okay.
in all of Switzerland there was only a handful of people that were really playing. So from
Mhm.
it was mainly us with the guys from the shop there, and that's it. And then later, I mean, it was not for very long. We played there maybe like half a year, and then afterwards we got internet connections at home, and
Gotcha.
we started playing from home. So that was then a very different thing. And then obviously my playtime went like this, and my grades went like that.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I can really attest to the poor connectivity. I would play over at Beltane's house, and we would just trade hour for hour. But I'll never forget, our friends that had a good, decent connection and a decent computer. They would run around without a horse, running circles around us as we're running with a horse. And back then it was, I mean, there really was a speed attribute to the game, being your
Mhm.
connectivity or your computer or what have you. But I think, and it's probably similar for you. It was just like how magic it felt playing that game, that you knew you were at such a huge disadvantage, and it was really tedious to play it that way. But you just felt, I don't know, it was magical. It was something that you didn't ever feel before. You felt part of that world, and it was so huge and just like awe-inspiring, I guess you could say, and you had to be a part of it, no matter the obstacle, right? So,
Exactly.
um,
Well, just
go ahead.
the technology behind it, I think for me it was the most interesting thing, because I mean I work in IT, so basically this is something that fascinated me always. Like, how can you even make a game work where people from all around the world can connect to one server and play basically in real time? Well, obviously the closer you are, the better the performance you have. And this was actually what always fascinated me. And even up until today, I'll be honest, I'm not really playing offline games. I only play MMOs because I just love this. You meet people, there's always a new community, and just this vibrant type of game where you can basically do anything you want. A sandbox. This is probably the coolest thing out there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do play some single player games, but it's very rare. I mean, I have to really be interested in that game. Baldur's Gate 3 was a big one. I've been playing Baldur's Gate since I was a kid. Final Fantasy 7 remake, and I'll be playing Rebirth in February. But again, that's another one that I've been playing, all the Final Fantasies and stuff like that. But it is really rare for me to actually do it. I have this like, I feel disconnected from society if I'm not playing an online game. This is a terrible example, but I think everybody can relate to it. But like, have you ever left your phone somewhere and you like feel really disconnected from the world? Sometimes that's a great feeling, right? But in this case, it is like I just don't feel like I'm really doing anything in a single player game. Obviously, I am, but again, like you're saying, there is no community. And I think, for me, maybe that's what's kept me with Ultima Online so long is that every server I find some sort of community, and it's it's different than other MMORPGs, especially. But there is still that in other MMORPGs. I don't know if maybe it's just because 'cause we're all older, and, like, but it just, when we came from the same cloth of MMOs so long ago, but there's just something magical about that. Where did you come up with the name Gankstar or Blackbeard? I mean, you don't have a beard, so
No, sorry, I don't. You should have told me
No.
in advance, like a month, then I could have grown one.
There we go.
No, no. No, so Gangster is just my old PvP char name. I used to have it in different games, and Blackbeard, I basically just picked it for the boating content here because it's real sad that there's no other MMO out there which has a comparable like ocean content as Outlands, which is really sad. I think it's a really unique feature that this game has, and it's a lot of fun because basically it's a lawless region. You can sink anyone, well,
Mhm.
apart from your guild and alliance, but it's really cool. And that's I think what amazes me also the most is like you're hopping on the boat, you're spyglassing, like please don't sink me now. I'm like bad moment, and yeah, it's really cool. So I enjoyed a lot.
And you see somebody, and I learned early on when I, was boating long ago that people aren't your friends out there, and no matter how many times I tried to just, like, okay, I'd see a guy that I coulda just icebreakered him and then shot him and he woulda sunk, right? Um, and then instead, I be the nice guy and I sail off. I throw him a wave and I sail off. Well, you know what? I can't think of one time that did not come back and bite me in the ass where that guy shows up with 3 other friends and I'm dead and I'm
Yep.
like, "Why did I trust this man?" It's and it's to be expected. I think it's fun. I really would like to see, I mean, not to take the conversation off of the ocean, but I would love to see a Lawless Dungeon, similar to that,
Hmm.
where it's like you go in
Hmm.
and, I mean, you know that if you see somebody, you guys are ganking each other, and, I think that's fun. I don't know if it would work out exactly like that. Maybe the ocean's a little bit different, but because it is so big. But I think it's really interesting too how, you've got everything from, greater abilities, regular abilities, lesser abilities. You get 2 on each that you can alternate around. You level up crew, and crew have different attributes. You wanna find the perfect crew, and they benefit however you build your ship, and, I just think it's really cool. That, and, of course, like you said, your only friends are your guildies or your alliance, and I think it's cool. Like, oh, there's a guy here, and then you guys all run over there and help each other out. And before you know it, there's this giant naval battle of like 5 on 5 or something like that. So,
That's the coolest content in the game by far. If you
mhm,
have never experienced it, you're missing out on such a big thing. And there's like 10, 15 boats from each side just running at each other because there's a contest that's spawning, and then gunshots left and right, people sinking, there's screaming in Discord. It's like hilarious. It's like the coolest thing. And obviously with boating, you have to go to the PvP channel on Discord afterwards, and then the meme fest is like not even the crypto stuff can compete with that. It's hilarious. It's really, I'm telling you, if I mean obviously I'm biased, but if you have
sure.
never boated before, give it a try. It's you won't regret it.
See, I'm like that with stealing, but I will say though, when I was actively boating, I enjoyed it a lot more sitting in a Discord with a group of people, and we're just shooting the shit, talking about whatever, and then all of a sudden, when shit hits the fan, like what you're talking about, we're all swarming there. They've put some restrictions in since then.
Mm.
Used to, it was really easy to dock your ship and then go, instantly somewhere to help out. Now you got to kind of stick around a little bit closer or
Mm.
whatever. But which I think was a great, change or whatever. But that, you're right,
That,
man. That is really cool,
that was a
and you can
really
make a lot of
cool.
money.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Financially, it's the most rewarding thing you can do in the game. easily, hands down. There's not, I mean, not even the top farmers can get that much money as you can on the ocean. But obviously, if you sink, it also costs a bit more. So risk reward, I think, is just. But I think it's pretty cool. There was a really cool suggestion the other day from some guy, like add sky ships, like zeppelins, that you can fly around Outlands, and you can have like boats in the sky, and then you can sink each other. I don't know, have flag cannons, add them to the different like areas where you can defend your city or something like that. That would be super nice. So
That would be really cool. Yeah,
uh,
I would like that. I mean, and leave it to Outlands if it ever came to fruition, right? They do
yeah, I
it.
mean, but it's cool also to see that the community has such cool ideas. I
Yeah,
mean, if they really add it or not is a different question, but just to see that people suggest it, I think is amazing.
yeah. So when you guys when you've, started playing Ultima way back in the day, I mean, I guess you kinda said it. I mean, you were just kinda, staggering along or whatever, but when you kinda got your grit of how to play the game and everything, what kind of player were you? Were you more of a PVMer? Were you PvPing? Were you stealing, harvesting? I mean, what kinda thing were you doing?
Well, we were PvPing quite a bit, but we went on the test server for that because it's cheaper and you can set your skills to whatever instantly, and then you just ran around and killed people left and right. But yeah, because we had this lag issue, we tried not to PvP too much. I mean, on the German server, it was equally bad or good for everyone, so it was more or less fairish. But apart from that, I was a PVMer. I was a tamer back then, and Gankstar is also a tamer, so I enjoy that a lot. I think it's really, really cool, like a setup to have. And yeah, that's when I came back here. The tamer was my first choice,
Yeah.
long before they buffed it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody dreamed of having a tamer in retail. That was like the go-to thing. Like, if you had a buddy, especially early days Ultima, that showed up with a white worm, it was like, oh, this
mm,
guy, he's good. And especially if they were a red tamer, oh my god, like you you guys, no, whoever that guy's on the team with is winning. And so, it's just kind of, you think of Ultima Online, you really do. You think of Tamers, you think of Dragon Tamers and all that stuff. Um, I was kind of, I think my first was a bard here. I mean, typically people start, they make a bard, whatever server they're doing. Not always, but a lot of times. And then once I had enough money to kind of start making a tamer, that's what I did. And then that was really, I would say, my first main character was a tamer here. And then when summoners, I just started enjoying playing summoner quite a bit. But I like to me, this is the first server where summons actually meant something. Other servers like summon water elemental, like, whatever. I mean, Blade Spirits was pretty big on like retail, but it was unpredictable. But what got you going on free shards? And then what was kind of your journey there? What made you guys leave retail and jump onto free servers? And do you remember the first one you played on?
mhm. Well, actually, so I played Ultima for like 2 or 3 years, and then EverQuest was released. So I
Yeah.
started playing EverQuest, and I got hooked to that one. The
Yeah.
needle was really deep on that one. So basically, I stayed with EverQuest for, I would say, like easily 6, 7 years.
Hmm.
Played in a top European guild. I mean, it was more like a job than just a game,
Oh yeah.
but it was really, really a lot of fun. And then I moved on to World of Warcraft for probably like 2, 3 years. And then I moved on to Final Fantasy. Also, the online was it 11? I think was the online version,
I think so. There's two of them. I think 10 or
older
11. I
one.
think 11, and then there's
Yeah,
14. But yeah, yeah, that one was the first. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and a few other MMOs. And then it was funny because one of my friends that I used to play with when I was a teenager, we somehow lost contact because we just moved into different parts of Switzerland, and we didn't speak with each other for almost like I would say 20 years. And at some point, then was like, I'm curious what happened actually to this guy. We spent so many nights playing together. I'm curious what happened. But so I knew where his dad was working. So I called his dad at work and was like, could you give me his phone number? And he told me, yeah, sure, but he lives in Thailand right now. And I was like, well, okay, even more, give me that number.
Yeah.
So I called my friend and was like, do you remember me from 20 years ago? And I was like, dude, I was like, yeah, how you doing? So we started talking, and then he mentioned like, by the way, I'm still playing Ultima Online. And I was like, no way. And he's like, yeah, I'm on this server called Outlands. I was like, checking the site as we speak. So that's how we connected. And so now he's playing from Thailand. I'm playing from here. It's super cool. I mean, that's again, MMOs, right? He can
Yeah.
play there, I can play here, and we still spend time together playing something, even though we're totally apart time
Yeah.
wise and location wise.
Yeah, and yet you're at the comfort of your own home, and so is he, and you guys are just chilling, sinking people out on the ocean or doing whatever you're doing, man.
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
that's a really cool thing, you know. I've met a lot of cool people playing this. You know, I'll go back to Beltane. I mean, he was my fourth grade best friend. He's been my best friend since then, and we've played some version of Ultima Online since the beginning. You know, and he you know, he's lived within like 2 hours from me all the time, and even, you know, a couple of years ago, he lived maybe 10 minutes, if that. But you know what? Like, sure, we got together sometimes, but really we just talked about Ultima and still did the exact same thing where we would just play Ultima together, and I mean, that was, like, fun for us, you know, and talking about what we were doing and things like that, and you know, even meeting people, like Vanilla Gorilla lives out in Florida, and I got my buddy Golden Bear, and you know, I do these meetups, and they come to them, or sometimes they just come and chill with me here in Oklahoma just because or whatever. But in reality, most of our time is spent in the game, just talking, and it's enjoyable, man. I think you really meet some cool people and bond with them on a really special level, you know, in MMOs in general. So that's super cool. I really like that story that that's how you found Outlands too and started playing on
Mm.
here. Calling his dad and getting his number. That's awesome, dude. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and
Uh,
he actually still plays a bard. So
okay.
he actually started with the bard, and I told him, well, I'm gonna keep it original, like back in the days, so tamer it is.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how we started playing together, going into dungeons again, like as a 40 plus, and you remember back then you were 15, so
Hmm. Hmm.
it gets close to midnight and like, dude, I have to get some sleep, I'm not that young anymore. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's really, really fun.
Yeah. What what are some of the things that you enjoy most about Outlands, and then also let's say some of the things that you might change about it?
Sure. I mean, what I like the most is just, I mean, the dev team does a really good job at basically adding new content and balancing the skills, even though people might have different opinions. But I think it's very well balanced. I mean, there are other games where it's much, much worse. And I think that's really cool. And also with the new content that Owen has released, I mean, the pictures at least of Wildlands, I mean, you see his skills in creating the new content is so good. I mean, the stuff looks ridiculously nice.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping he's going to revamp some of the old content as well, because I mean, not that it's bad or anything, but just how much you could do if you were to change a few things here and there. So yeah, but in general, I think the community is really cool. Just the liberty of being able to do whatever you want. I mean, you can be a PK, you can go steal houses, you can boat, you can play it from an economical perspective, like I do, build malls. It's really cool, and I mean, you will always find someone who's similar to you who does similar stuff, and that's cool stuff.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and it'd be very difficult to do extremely well at all aspects. I mean, there's just not enough hours of the day, which, in my opinion, makes for a great MMORPG. You know what I mean? Like, because like you said, so many aspects to the game. Which one's your favorite? Okay, cool. Focus on that one, and then you want to splash into some other stuff too. I mean, by all means, do that. Um, I agree with you too on the community. I think that both Owen and just the community in general do a really good job of kind of policing. And I mean, sure, you're going to get toxic assholes, so that's never going to not happen. But you know, when it becomes like an actual real problem, I think that we all do a good job of like, that's not cool, man. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
and and and
yeah.
they find another community where it's a little bit more, whatever. So, yeah, man, I could agree with that. They do a wonderful job out here for sure. What like okay, so here's the thing. Obviously, everybody, Outland Malls, like I said, it's generated quite a bit of hype and an extremely helpful tool. I've really been enjoying using it a lot lately. Um, but in short, what is Outlands Malls?
So in short, it's basically like Amazon just for Outlands. So if you have a vendor, you can scan it, you can add it to the site, then people will see what type of goods you have. They can go there, they see the coordinates, they can run there, buy it, and that's pretty much it. So it helps you boost your sales or get even your stuff listed somewhere. It's not an auction house because we don't auction stuff off. You just see the stuff and you go there and buy it. And there are some charting features to it as well, because a lot of people were asking, hey, could you not add like a analytical part for it? So, I mean, me coming from crypto, I was like, sure, hold my beer. So basically, we went to TradingView, which is something we use for crypto or stock trading in general. And then we took the library from there and added it to the site, so that's pretty much as close as you will get to crypto trading. And lately, I mean, with the prices of certain cores going up and down, and Owen having fun with the community and writing like holy is overpowered, and then you see the price of holy cores
Yeah.
going up from 5K to 20K. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I was buying them for, 2 to 3K per just, 3 weeks ago, and now I
Mm.
think the lowest one this morning was like 14K. So it's like, yeah, they're going up quite a bit, and, to me, that's always fun watching that. Me and you talked about it, I guess, the last week, the price of command cores, and you showed me on the graph that you can see, like, I thought it was really cool when the patch came in for Tamers, command cores skyrocketed, where
Mm.
people are buying them for 200K now. And
Yep.
it's wild. I think for me to level command, it's been capped for a long time. But it's going to take 40 command cores. Nope, you can keep your 1.5% damage, right? But
Mm.
some people are like, no, I'm leveling it, man. I want it to be max, and I think that's really cool to watch. Just like you said, you know, y- especially on there, that chart, being able to see the date when a patch happened, or correlate it to Owen typing holy OP, and suddenly,
Hmm.
boom, or posting Luthien posting the picture, and it has like a holy graphic, and everybody's like, "Oh God, holy's getting reworked. It's gonna be good." And it's cool watching that, especially, and it's just cool. How many people are working on Outland Malls?
So we started pretty much a year ago. So Sandro and myself, he actually contacted me and was like, "Hey, I've been using Outland Market for some time, and I'm not too happy with some of the functionalities because it's a very centralized service. And I mean, the guy who built it, he's scanning a few spots, but you cannot add anything else to it. And he thought like, could we not do something like more open, like a decentralized solution? I told him, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then we slowly started working on the project. I mean, adding features here and there. And it slowly grew. I mean, it took us almost a full year to bring it up to this point. Obviously, we're not working 24/7 on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the beginning was a bit rough because problem is you need to get all the IDs for the items. And I begged Owen and Luffy's both like, please, please give me the IDs, but they said, yet, not
yeah,
gonna happen. So
yeah,
then I started running around Outlands, and I think I ran pretty much everywhere into all the houses, and I checked okay, I'm looking for, I don't know, a specific type of sword. Do they have it somewhere? And like, there is it is. Oh, cool. So check the ID and like, I found it. Yeah. So basically, it took me forever to get all the IDs that we have.
Yeah.
And so basically, the two of us, we started it. We split it more like he's the hardcore coder dev. So he's like Lucius of sorts. And I'm the one who's doing the content management and adding also new IDs
Cool.
and also, yeah, managing the community like Owen does. But I
Yeah.
think my number of times that I wrote "fuck you" is a lot lower than the one from Owen. But maybe that changes over time. Because I think
Yeah.
his count is like at 1,200. I checked it once just for fun, and mine is much lower than that. But hey, I think that might change as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure at the beginning he was very, cautious about stuff, and now he's just like, "Fuck you, man."
Yeah, yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. But
I
I
did
get him. I
see.
get him. I
Oh,
get
yeah.
him. Sometimes I fully understand it. And we're like, how does he manage to stay calm? Because some people are interesting. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 some of the people that complain the most about the game are the ones that are playing it the most, and you're like, "Wait, what?" But
Mm,
anyways, so I saw on there back to the item IDs and two in your Discord now, you've got like an area where you're saying, "Hey, I'm looking for these IDs." And then the community is
mm,
like, "Oh, cool, I've got that." Like maybe it's the dragon tooth from Nucero, boss rare, or whatever, and then they give you the item ID and then boom. So once again, it's just the community kind of helping out to, make it fully functional. I was really glad. This is how I found my mausoleum lantern, but I was really glad to see that those were up there. I mean, obviously, they would be, but it was just cool. I put in mausoleum and I scrolled down and saw a gilded hip lantern. I was like, awesome. And then, we'll get into this here shortly, but the premium, I was able to set it to send me a notification every time one comes up every, 2.5 million gold. And found one. I kept seeing 2.5, 2.5, 2.4. And then I saw one for 2 million. And I was like, oh, I gotta go. And I ran and logged in and ran over there and bought it. And finally, I didn't have to farm
mm.
in Mausoleum anymore because I got that hip lantern, and it was really exciting. Um, I thought that was super cool, getting the message, and I've done the same with like holy cores and other stuff, fire cores and stuff, and it's been really cool, man. It's been really cool.
Now imagine me. I'm in the middle of the ocean, and
Yeah,
then you get the message. There is a lantern for I don't know 200K. I was
yeah,
like, oh my god, hard to port, hard to port.
yeah.
Sorry guys, I have to abandon you, but I have to go.
I gotta leave. Yep, and then you got 10 minutes to get there, just to
Yeah,
get out of the
exactly,
ocean.
exactly,
That's
exactly.
good. So like, going on websites and stuff like that. I mean, do you have experience creating websites or something similar on different games or platforms or anything similar to this? I know you spoke a little bit about it with like crypto sites and things like that, but I mean, what other kind of things?
Yeah, so my daily job is obviously not a boater. I'm a pirate at night, but a university professor during the day. So I do research, and I actually lead a team of researchers who do research on decentralized systems. So we build basically solutions where there is either blockchain or some different type of technology behind it. And so I had a little bit of, let's say, background knowledge on how to do it because it's a very different beast to slay when you have to build a decentralized solution. And for me, that's, I would say, also the most appealing thing is like, how do you build such a solution? Because in the beginning, you cannot tell everyone, like, hey, by the way, just scan your stuff and that's how we're going to get it up and running because you have
Yeah,
this cold start problem. And in the beginning, you have to scan everything yourself, and then slowly you start decreasing the scan speed, and then people need to pick up instead of you the scanning basically. And this was pretty tricky to do all this transition, but right now we have a lot of people who are scanning and more are joining and are scanning their own stuff. And this is how the whole system becomes much faster. It becomes also more resilient because bots can and they do get killed every now and then. But even if you take down our bots, I mean, the rest of the community is scanning their own stuff. So that's really, really cool. And that's, I think, I would say one of the cooler achievements that we managed to do.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Like getting buy-in initially, right? When you're just first starting out on anything, it's like, yeah, you can hopefully get some of your friends to do it, right? Not all of them are going to, but hopefully you can. And then from there, it's like, well, how do you get other people that, I'm just going to talk about my project, and hopefully they do. There's some buy-in there, but and kind of like what you're saying, you're the one scanning it, making the name, introducing in the the project, and eventually people are like, oh, after it, I think usually it takes a couple times. Like the first time somebody hears about anything, they're just like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And then they hear it again, and then they're like, what? Oh, I remember hearing about that before. And then after like 3 or 4 times at the minimum of hearing about a certain thing, that they're finally like, hold on, I keep hearing about this. And then hopefully you catch them at a good time and they're like, let me do some more research and see what's up before they even might think about, you know, uh, being a part of it, or you know what I mean? So, yeah, I can imagine having a decentralized project like what you have was a very slow start. And with that, the next question I was going to say is probably a lot of like misconceptions, right? And just really questions. But I also know a lot of people like to assume the worst in everything. And I get it, right? I mean, we live in a dangerous society, I guess you could say. And you want to be protective of yourself. You hear things bad all the time. But what would you say are, some of the different misconceptions or concerns you get with Outland malls from the Outland community?
Mhm. Well, I would say the biggest misconception is that people think, I don't know, we're making millions of this. We don't. I mean, there is usually like 25 items which are discounted, but we're looking at like 25 out of 60,000 items.
With
So
that
that's like,
with that, I will say that out of those 30 items, a lot of them are like shadow wood lumber map.
yes, yeah. Yeah, so we're talking maybe like a handful of items at best per day that are discounted, but you're not going to get rich off this platform. But some people think like, I don't know, we're making millions from this. It's not the case at all. So
Yeah.
the other thing is, well, I mean, the problem ultimately is we have a lot of sensitive data. I mean, basically, we have the whole history recorded on sales for the last 6, 7 months. And this is a very valuable data. I mean, after all, this is something that you can use for a variety of different things. And we noticed that a lot of people started crawling our site excessively. I mean, the bandwidth and those CPU and RAM usage went through the roof. And I mean, we don't get paid to build this site. And so at some point, we just said, look, enough is enough. We cannot basically let the server run at 99% all the time, because ultimately it will slow down the platform because we need to process all those journals that people upload. This takes computational power. Then we also need to make sure that the queries are fast enough, because you don't want to wait like for 2 minutes to get a result back.
Yep.
And that's when we did this not so popular decision to enforce logins, because we tried to do it just by IP-based detection and how often they request certain things on the site. But the problem with this is if you are too harsh, you start basically kicking, or you start punishing those who you don't want, like the regular users who are maybe a little bit more active on the site.
Mhm.
So it's really difficult to manage. But if you do have like a personalized tracking where you can track the behavior of some people, and crawlers, they just basically check within a few seconds what are the prices of all the cores. And no normal player does that. I mean, no one goes in there and just checks all the cores. And this is how we can use pattern recognition. I mean, this is not the only one that we use to detect people when they're crawling. And since then, basically, the server is running much, much more stable, and we were able to remove those people. And then obviously, I mean, I totally get it. We live in a time where the awareness for data has become a big topic. Thankfully, I mean, this is a big, big good thing that it happened. And I understand that people are very afraid that I don't, we will maybe do something malicious with the data. And it's really difficult. I mean, this is my personal lesson learned from this whole thing is like you need to communicate actively what you are doing to the community. This is where we totally, or I screwed up totally. We would have had to have like a Q&A session, write more prominently what data do we gather. We only basically said, look, you have to log in to use it. And that was a poor decision on my end, and I'm sorry for that. But again, from our side, the only data that we really request is just basically a token from Discord that just tells us like you have an active account, we get your user ID and the avatar, and that's it. We don't get any mails, addresses, names, any of that stuff, because that would also, I would personally not feel comfortable getting that data because you need to protect it. There's GDPR compliance, and I wouldn't even want to go down that path. So
Yeah.
that's how we make sure that we can that the server remains stable, but at the same time, people don't have to reveal their personal identities. But I understand people in the community were very upset and they didn't feel happy and they thought we will sell the data or do whatever with it. But I can tell you, none of us is really interested in any of that. We built a project from the start with the intention to give the community something cool that they can add their malls, they can facilitate the sales of their items. And obviously, Owen, I hope really at some point he will add a similar system officially from Outlands. But right now he's too busy with the expansion. So, and I also offered him actually, I told him, look, if you want to have the code and everything of Outland Malls, we will give it to you in a heartbeat. We're not even, we don't want to seal it off and say this is ours. Not at all. We want to give it, but he said he doesn't want that. He wants to build his own solution, which is totally understandable. But this is like our, let's say, darkest moment in time when it comes from a platform point of view. But people, the only way to do it is like you have to, I don't know, put like a tinfoil hat on and just embrace the storm and sail through it and say, look, I'm sorry, it is how it is. I'm not happy with it. If you can get rid of all the crawlers, I will remove the login instantly, but no one can. And this is the only way
Yeah.
how we can make it work.
I think most of it comes from just not fully understanding exactly kind of like what you talked about, like what is the data that it's taking when I connect my Discord. And when you do go to connect, it's going to be like this, it is asking for this, it is asking for this, and it has a little check mark, you know what I mean, saying like this is what it's looking for. And I think either one, somebody maybe just doesn't glance it, or two, they heard from somebody, oh well, now Outland Malls wants you to have their Discord. Oh, they're going to take my email address and they're going to take my address at home and this and that, but really just not, I guess you could say, investigating it or getting the full picture from it, which a lot of time happens, man. It happens a lot. I think a lot of times people kind of jump to a conclusion prior to. I'm guilty of it. It's happened many times, right? I'm sure everybody is. And so yeah, I do think that you kind of said it, like maybe having a Q&A prior to, like, hey, we're going to do this. That's a great idea in my opinion. So that'd be good. You touched on it a little bit, and it was actually going to be my next question. But have you talked to, which I guess is yes, but Owen or any of the developers about this, and what was their stance on it? Obviously, they said they were thinking about making their own, and they have plans to. Last night, when I was doing the giveaway for the premium membership, somebody said, "Why doesn't Outlands have their own?" And it's like, well, they're planning on it, but right now they don't. So but yeah, what was their kind of Owen and team stance and things on that? What was that conversation like?
Well, first I asked, like, is it even legal to do it? Because in the term of service, there was nothing written that it was allowed or forbidden. And he told me basically like, look, there is Outland market, right? So I was like, okay, good. Then let's try to build something similar, which is what we did. And the only time I actually asked them for help was when we had to get the IDs for the items. But I totally understand that he doesn't want to share it. So I mean, I'm not gonna annoy him with that. And apart from that, we didn't have too much conversation until the whole premium service came up, and then people went weren't too happy about it. Let's just say that. And there were people asking me to get banned for building the site and how it's not fair for the community and stuff like that, which I understand to a certain degree. And that's when Owen basically was sort of forced to step in, and that's how he upgraded the term of service and basically added this new small passage where it clearly states that running such sites and using such sites is not illegal. They tell people use your common sense when you enter or engage in usage of them. But I think that's basically the current status of it. And I 100% agree, because you asked this question before. If what's the one thing that I would wish for that Outlands had? And I would say such a service, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I like running it, but I think it's something that the game should have by itself. We should not need to run scan bots 24/7. We also have family obligations. We go on vacation, and I mean, I went to South of the France this summer for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh no, hope the bots don't die. So I took my laptop with me, and obviously they died.
Yeah.
So I was there in the hotel. I stashed my laptop somewhere in the wardrobe with Wi-Fi, and I made sure that the bots were up and running, because
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the point. If they die, people leave the platform or they get upset. So, and this is something that the game should have. I understand that right now the focus is really on the expansion and a few other things, but I hope that at some point in the near future they will focus on such a platform and build it from. Yeah, but there's also the question afterwards. So if you build an in-game platform, then you cannot check some of the data that is accessible on a website. For example, did my stuff sell? You would have to log in to see it. But on a website, you would be able to see it, like we have the sales history of things, which is very convenient if you're somewhere and you just quickly want to check if it's sold or not. So I'm very curious how they will manage it. Will it be an in-game, like the Pet Bazaar thing, or will it be more like a website that Outland Malls is?
Yeah.
We'll see, I guess.
I guess we'll see. I would guess, completely guess, right? But I would guess it would be more of an in-game system. Just seems like, tend to keep stuff in the game or whatever on that part. But um, at the same time, when you do that, it really just, I feel like that eliminates a lot of things that like Malls does that you can't do in the game. And so then you go back to square one of, well, we have one that's, you can do this now. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
maybe it would have to be a website or what have you. But either way, that's really cool. So, I mean, basically, he's good with it. It is what it is. And, you can't really police that, if you will. And, it's, to me, it's a great program. I've really enjoyed using it. You spoke a little bit about premium. I've spoke a little bit about premium. Um, I don't know, the word premium membership instantly when you hear that. I'll just be 100% honest with you. It sounds like, how much do I got to pay? And so for me personally, when I'm like, we're gonna do
Yeah.
a giveaway for a premium membership, you don't have to pay anything like instantly. I'm saying that, and so what what is, for everybody out there, what is the premium membership? What are some of the things that it offers? Um, how can you get one? What are plans to get? If for that, I get it. It's like a brand new thing. So
Yeah, so I mean, the idea maybe why did we even introduce that? Because keep in mind, we spend a lot of time building this site. It's not something that you do quickly over the weekend.
yeah.
It took us hundreds of hours to build this platform and to get it to where it is right now.
Mhm.
So the both of us, we were thinking like, well, we could have just as well spent this time playing the game instead, and both leveling up our chain, getting money, and things like that. But we chose not to. We built a site, so our idea was like, well, let's just reserve a handful of functionalities that we could eventually sell. It's like our way to getting compensated for what we built.
Yep.
Obviously, we would never charge real money for it, neither crypto. So it really was an idea to sell the stuff in game, which people then, when we announced it, that's why we called it a premium, because there were, I will just elaborate in a second what, but a handful of functionalities, and they were like, "Oh, Outland Market never charged anything," which is not true at all. Because there, if you want to upload data, you need to buy credits, which you also have to buy as part of a book. So we basically took the same system they have, but we told people, look, you can upload free of charge. But the only thing we charge for is if you want that premium feature, which is the tracker that you mentioned, for example. So there is like a section where you can say, alert me if a command core is listed below, let's say 150K. Then you get an instant message on your Discord and you see the coordinates, and then you can basically go there and buy that core. So that's one of the things. And the other one is this discounted page. So basically, this 25 items that we discussed before, this is something that you see that others do not. And you have like a 6 hours head start to go grab those items. And then everything is pushed to the public. That's basically the two main things. We did add a third one. So if people remember the old buy script, which allows you to go to a vendor and the script picks that specific item, it cross-checks the price with the database and tells you if it's off or not. That's something we added to the premium as well. And so we have been thinking of, I mean, there was a huge shitstorm when we introduced it. That's my other second lesson learned. So if you introduce a login, do a Q&A. When you do a premium, be very, very careful how you do it. And we rethought the whole process, and we don't want to just basically put it into a box and not use it at all. We want to start actually helping or promoting people who are helping the community. So this will be a new feature that we're adding. It's like a leaderboard, a society of sorts. And basically then we will, on a per month basis, pick the top 10 or 15 contributors, and they will get the premium unlocked automatically on their accounts. This is a way for us to tell them, thank you very much for providing the data and helping the community. And it also incentivizes people to scan more than just their specific mall. So this is how we will be using it in the future. But obviously, I'm also handing it out for Christmas. I gave a few codes here. I gave you a few codes, and I know who is scanning a lot, so I'm also giving them the functionality. So yeah, that's basically how we're doing it. I mean, I could have been a total prick and just said, I'll keep it for myself, precious.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah, of course, but I didn't. I mean, we really had to build all the login, the membership stuff, and only when it really was ready, we started pushing it live. And this was just like a month ago. And
Yeah.
that's the idea.
I really like the the auto buy script. I like hitting it when I'm running to the vendor, run and play, and then just like right as I run up to the vendor, it bump pop, and then it's like, all right, yep, bye. And it helps, man, because especially you walk into those like giant castles with 50 vendors, right? And you're like, okay, where is Yancey at? And then you like you can't find it, and then you're like, okay, now I finally found Yancey. Okay, now where is this? All right, click that. Nope, not that bag. Oh, there's 3 more bags, and you know what I mean? Like you're searching around for it, but this just is like, there it is. Boom, boom, boom. All right, gotcha. And super
Mhm.
quick, easy, ultimate time saver. It's just it's super cool, man. And I
You want
really think
a
what's up?
fun fact?
Yeah.
So in the beginning, and this is the current version of the buy script, is what it does is it picks the vendor, it opens the bag where the items are in, but it doesn't buy the specific item. This is the initial version that we had, what we also know from Outland Market. It just opens it, and then you have to check it yourself.
Mhm.
And then we thought like, well, we can go one step further. We can also add the price checking to it. So it
Yeah.
basically, because we add the serial ID of the item to the buy script, and then it selects that specific item and it checks it with the price in the database. And the funny thing is, we added this because we thought people will get scammed less often because it tells you if the price is different from what we have on the site. But what happened is actually more people got scammed because what they did is they went to a vendor, they hit the script, they thought like, oh, cool, this item is priced correctly. So the other 10 items next to it, they might most probably, or they will also be fairly priced as they are on the site. But that's where the scammy ones are usually in. So you buy, for example, the first level 3 T map, you buy it for 25K. Then you buy another one for 25K, and then the next one is 250K.
Yeah.
And that's how you got scammed. And in the report a scammer section of the page, there were so many more reports until we actually removed this from the system. And now only the bag is opened. So you have to go and scan it yourself. Because I think people just relied too much on this system and they thought like it's trustworthy. So if this item is trustworthy, everything else is trustworthy.
Yep.
And this was a very interesting discovery, at least from my side.
How do you, because I mean, there's two sides to that, right? There's I put them all in for 25K. I accidentally hit an extra zero, right? That happens. I'm so on Whiskey Saturdays, I get checks for 25K right out of my bank, and there has been a time where I've accidentally pulled a 250K check out, and then I'm like, wait, why is this 250K? Oh, thank God I saw that, and then I put it back and get another one. But like, how do you? What happens if, let's say, I did that on my vendor and I've got a 250K level 3 T map, somebody's like Pwncast scamming. What's kind of the process there?
Yeah, so if someone gets scammed, they will basically report it in our channel. There is the specific report a scammer channel, and they share the link of the vendor. They print screen the stuff that was sold, and then I usually go and I investigate. So, I mean, it's as you say, we all make mistakes. It's fine. I mean, if one of the items is overpriced, yeah, it happens. And I'm not deleting and banning anyone just if it happens once. But there are some individuals where you see like, so they stack stuff on top of each other. So like the first one is 25K, 25, and then it's like 250, 250, 25, 25, 250. I was like, yeah, that screams for a scam. So this is how we check. Or for example, people add completed T maps to the pile of T maps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that this is a scam. So this is how I try to do it. But to be honest, I rather not have to basically police vendors. This is not what I want to do. But I also feel like we need to protect the community from such people. So when I delete and ban the vendors, people have the possibility to contact me and say, look, I'm sorry, this was an honest mistake. I didn't mean to. And then I will unban them basically. But so far, I would say 99% of the bans, no one came back to me and said, oh, I'm sorry, the 10 completed T maps, this was a mistake. So
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I screwed up. Yep. I'm just gonna take my L and walk. So yeah.
Exactly.
And then as far as like being in game and stuff like that, people know you now. I mean, do they be like, hey, Outland Malls, or I mean, what's kind of, what are some of the interactions you've had since all this, especially, I guess we'll say the last month or two?
Well, that's a good thing if you're on the ocean, right? So if they see me, it's like you're gonna die.
Yeah. What's gonna happen there, right? Yeah.
There is no room for parlay. So you're gonna
Mm-mm.
get sunk, or I'm gonna get sunk. So either way, that's the
It's
beauty of it.
it's funny you say that too, because I'll be in an ocean or in a dungeon, and reds will run by, and sometimes they stop or they'll give me a wave or a spin or whatever,
Mm.
and I'm just like, okay, cool. They're not gonna kill me. But if I'm out on the ocean, bro, nope.
Nope.
There is no no room
Mm.
for there's Pwn Start. I don't care. You're dead.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, the ocean is pretty nasty. So yeah, but no, I mean, I did meet a few people in game, and they were like super happy, like, hey, it's really cool service, thank you very much. Or people who rent vendors at my malls, they usually when they contact me, they're like, this is so cool, and they send pictures like, oh my god, everything's sold within like half an hour, and it's like, yeah, that's the idea. So happy business, keep it up. And so yeah, I think I would say 95% of the comments are positive. And yeah, obviously you always have a few people who are just haters and who are
Yeah.
jealous and stuff. But even they sometimes then they admit like, oh man, if I had access to all of this data, imagine what I would do. And you just see the evil horns going up.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, well, so
Yep. Yep. That's how. Yep. Yep. That's it. What? I know that too. Like sometimes, the negative comments. It's funny because like you said, 95% of the people, they're like, hey, great tool, I love it. And then less than 5% of people that are kind of nasty about it or whatever. I mean, like it's unfortunate, but I think it's something that triggers in our brains. But I mean, it like those stick out, you know what I mean? And you're like, damn, you
mm,
know what I mean? And I often, me personally, I often have to tell myself like, it's not a big deal, man. Don't get upset about, and just move on past it. You know what I mean? But I'm sure it was very similar in your aspect as well, without a doubt. But
yeah, totally.
go ahead.
But I mean, it's a bit tricky more difficult for me because I never did community management. And to be honest, it's not something I'm particularly keen on doing, but someone has to. And the thing is that if you're a scientist and you publish papers, you always have peer reviews where other people review your stuff. And it always remains like on a neutral level and you have technical discussions, but it's never like a personal attack on you. But
Yeah.
here's a whole different story because, and I still have like the scientist background or thinking where I think like, why does he attack me? I don't get it. I mean, what did I do to the person and why? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm actually even trying to make your life more easy. We spend hundreds of hours to give you something that helps you sell stuff and everything. Why are you so nasty? And this is something that I had to learn a little bit. And yeah, I mean, if you're playing PvP type of games, you learn this. I mean, just yeah, shrug it off and you move on and it's okay. But obviously, I mean, we're all humans and deep inside it does bother you for a moment and then you just move on.
Right. What kind of goals do you have for Outland Malls? I mean, it's at a great place now. Is there more functionality? I mean, what talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, I would say for now, I mean, we focused really on the functionality of it, and we would like to do like a redesign of the layout, the front end, basically. So this is something that we are planning to do. This leaderboard that I mentioned before, where we can actually help or we can promote people to get the premium for uploading data. And I would say the next big thing will be, well, Wildlands, because once that thing goes live, I will be running around like a headless chicken and collecting the IDs again. So
Yeah,
that's going to be a tricky one.
because
But
there's all the
apart
new
from that,
weapons and stuff. All the new weapons. You'll
yeah,
have to get all those IDs and the shields and all that stuff.
yeah,
I'm sure there will be new boss rares, obviously.
yeah.
Tons of stuff. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. You got your work cut out for you.
Yep, that's pretty much it. But no, I would say the roadmap that we had in general, we pretty much managed to get everything done. I think it's in a pretty good state as is. People are very happy. Get more people to scan stuff, make the scan maybe a little bit easier. There are a few things that we could still optimize, but I think it's more like optimizing and just yeah, making sure that it stays up and running, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Now, I know you said you did kind of touch on this a little bit, but like, let's say, and maybe it's something different, but if you could make a suggestion to Outlands and they had to do it, right? It was like, you got the checkbook, you're the one, you get a pick. What would it be? What would it be?
Ocean content, please.
For the ship
Please,
people.
I mean, no, I mean
Yeah.
it's so cool, but it was I think just neglected, or
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand, I totally get it, right? There's if you just look at how many people farm gold versus dubs, you see a huge, I mean, I would say out of 10 people, there's one boater. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you have a limited amount of resources and time, you will focus on those who are the majority. I totally get that. But I think that you have so much potential there actually with boating. And most people who got into it, they were really hooked. Try to embrace it. I mean, they did add a little bit more ocean to it, but I think if there was like a type of an ocean dungeon with coves and like to enter you have to sail through like a skull island, something like that. That would be so cool, and a lot more people would start also checking that out and playing that content as well. Because after all, it's just really cool. And
Yeah.
I really hope they do look into that at some point. They're now fixing some boat related bugs, but let's see.
I think, and I've heard boat dungeon quite a bit, and to me, it's kind of like you said, like you go through. That'd be cool, a little Skull Island or whatever. Maybe there's parts that you dock up to like a brigand town, a pirate town. You know what I mean? And you trade booty with them, and then you get back out and there's a boss that you kill, and just all that stuff. And there's even a little bar, just like for summoning bosses for guilds and stuff like that, and boss rares. I mean, there is the ocean boss and everything, but I can really agree with you there. So I mean, I used to boat quite a bit, and I enjoyed it. I will say, I'll agree with you. Most people, when they get into boating, that's what they do after that.
Mm.
They don't, I enjoyed it quite a bit, but for me it was like I got tired of seeing just blue. And
Yeah.
I need that, like, that different visual stimulation. And
Mm.
that was it for me. I just kind of was like, all right, well, I'm gonna jump back on the land and see different scenery or whatever. And I think a boat dungeon could really open that up again, seeing, going through rivers and larger things with the water maybe looking a different color, and
Mhm.
knowing that I can go through this area. You get it. I mean, I think that'd be
Yeah,
really cool,
totally.
man. Good call. What
Yeah, and I mean,
go ahead.
I think that there's so much potential also to this. The only thing that's really difficult with boating is it's a pretty steep learning curve. So
Mhm.
ultimately, you need to have like a buddy who basically gets you into boating, who explains how this whole thing works. For example, next week I'm having like an introduction session or tutorial session with my guild for people who are interested to boat,
Cool.
because we need to share that knowledge and make it easier for them to get into boating. And in my case, it was similar. I mean, I didn't boat for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And then Zoldi hit me up like, hey, dude, I got this really cool boat. Do you want to buy it? At Zoldi prices. He ripped me off, obviously. So, but no, it's cool. It's cool. I mean, that's what he
Yeah.
does. And I mean, he really helped me. He answered all my questions. We got into Discord and he really got me into this whole boating. And I'm really thankful for that. And it's really cool. And I think that's the thing that you have to do with boaters. You need to get them on the ocean and you need to explain how it works. Now, if this could be a little bit more easier for the entry boaters, I think that would be really cool and would help people to discover the ocean more easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think both Ocean and then just the game itself at the beginning, both of them. I I think I've said this on every single Pwncast episode, but I would really like to see different tooltips, like for instance, for boating, right when you get on a boat for the first time, a little tooltip bumps up and says like,
Mm.
looks like you're new here. Would you like help? And you can click yes or no. And say yes, and it's like, okay, you need to do this, and it just goes through like this button does this, and you need boarding rope to board, and you can only board after the guns or the sails are 50%, or things like that, and just a little easy gumps that pop up, and both Ocean and starting out in the game, I think could help a lot tremendously with player retention,
Mm.
and all that. Now, as far as boating player retention, once you get out there and you land your first icebreaker or your crew member Wake Scalar and Greater Cooldown, and you're like, shit, I'm rich now. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times people are like, I'm never leaving the ocean because
Yeah.
you could make, 20 million on one little crew member. And it's like, wow.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
um,
we have the newbie dungeon, right, in
mhm,
Sanctuary. So something similar to that for the ocean. I mean, most guilds agreed you don't kill people in that small area around Sanctuary. Um, so they get to test their boats and stuff like that. But
yeah,
yeah, a small tutorial I think would be really meaningful.
yeah. What other games? I mean, I guess we talked about it a little bit. We don't neither of us really play a lot of single player games, but I mean either way, but what other games are you excited about?
So there's this one game which is a bit of it's a tricky thing. So since I played EverQuest for a long time and
Yeah.
Ultima Online, I was always hooked into this two types of games. And there was a game called Vanguard Saga of Heroes. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
you ever heard of it.
Yeah.
So I started playing that one and it was so nice. I mean, it was buggy as hell, but it was ridiculously nice because the guy who created EverQuest was the producer there.
Is this the
And
Viking game?
no, it's
Okay, I'm
not.
thinking
It's
something.
like
Okay.
no. It's basically it's a game that it was considered to be like EverQuest 3 of sorts. And Brad McQuaid, he was the one who was the lead designer of it. He took a lot of people that were on EverQuest in the original team with him there. They built a huge world where there was housing, boats, and a
Wow.
truckload of dungeons. I don't know how many classes, but it was ridiculous. Really, it was super, super great, the game. But unfortunately, they ran out of funds. There was a lot of bugs. It was run by Sony Online Entertainment, which was a bit of a
Yeah.
tricky thing. They sold it off to another company, and ultimately they basically sunset the game once it was at a state where you could consider this would have been the beta version that they should have released 7 years before. And what happened afterwards is actually a small group of people. They start when they knew that the game was going to be sunset, they started collecting data on the game. So they really ran around the game like I do for the IDs, but they ran around and started collecting text from the quest, information on NPCs. They downloaded as much data as they could from the game,
Yeah.
and now they're building an emulator based on that game. And it's really cool because they invested 7 years of their time to get the
Yeah.
emulator to a stage where you can say it's really playable now. Obviously, it's not as like any triple A game, but it's
Yeah.
pretty good. And I'm really excited to actually to see how they will pull this off with a small team. They don't get paid for it. But they're really just very passionate about it. And this is something I enjoy.
There there was a game called WildStar, that was out 2004-ish, maybe somewhere around there, and it shut down, and they didn't like make it open source or anything before they shut it down. And it's kind of a similar thing where they're using something called, you may know what this is, but sniff packets or snippet packets,
Mhm.
and they're trying to rebuild it. And right now, I've been watching this. I'm in a Discord and I've been watching it. They've got the housing going. They've got where you can run around the world. You can talk to some of the NPCs with the quests and stuff. They're trying to get combat working, but it's neat because it's a similar thing. These people are just doing this, trying to get the game back in a playable state. Um, not getting paid anything. They just want to
Mhm.
play that game again. And I always think that's really cool. Just passion behind video games. I mean, similar to how Outlands, right? I mean, obviously they're getting paid now, right? But it started out like, okay, here's this server. Let's play Ultima. Let's make an Ultima server. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know the
Mhm.
initial discussion, but you get what I'm saying. And
Mhm.
I just think that's really cool. And a lot of times those passion projects really turn into better than the one that has people going
Mhm.
to work, working an 8 to 5, hating their job. Some of them loving it. But you know what I mean? Like I'm not saying all games that aren't passion projects are bad, because that's not true, but you get what I mean. Like, passion
Mm.
projects can really turn into something beautiful, I think. So that's cool. Vanguard, Saga of Heroes. Are they going to continue developing it more and making it better and better?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Well, they're still in the rebuilding phase. I would say most of the classes are done,
Mhm.
but the housing is not in yet. The boats are buggy. You can sail on the shore if you want to, up the mountain, which is a bit strange. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there are some bugs, and they're
Do,
fixing it one by one.
you said you mentioned the guy Brad was from EverQuest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you remember, going back to EverQuest real quick? Is Do you remember the first time in EverQuest getting on the boat to go from wherever to wherever? For me, it was Butcher Block Mountains to
Yeah.
wherever. And I remember going through Ocean of Tears and just like awestruck, like, oh my god, I am on a boat right now. And we're going through
Mhm.
the ocean. And it was just cool. Just
Was from wherever to wherever forever because the
yes,
boats were super slow. It
yeah,
took like 20 minutes boat drive to get from one continent to the other. But it was really, yeah, for me, the same. It was like, whoa, I'm on a boat, so
yeah,
cool, and
yeah.
this is amazing. So yeah, no, it was. I think it was in Eridin. So this because I was in Eridit, this guys
Okay.
with the
Yeah,
strange big hat,
yeah.
and you had to take the boat because I didn't have another way to get out of there.
Mhm.
It was really really cool. And then obviously because you didn't know that you need to bind in that game, and it would
Yes.
send you back to where you started. So I took this boat for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Got out of the gate and I was like, cool, I'm gonna bash stuff. Well, I got bashed. I got sent back to where I
Yep.
created my character. There we go, another 20-minute boat ride. But hey, that's part
Yeah.
of the game, right? That's how you
Yeah.
learn your lesson very quick.
Yeah, yeah, very true, man. There, I can remember doing so many long, long corpse runs. My first time playing EverQuest, I was a monk. And you had to have that 14 stone weight limit or whatever. And so
Mhm.
I don't know if that was the right 14, but either way, like you had to keep really low weight and all this stuff. But I can always remember it was I was I'd always forget to be like, get somebody to bind me somewhere, and I'd go
Mhm.
across the world to go to whatever dungeon I was told I needed to go to, and I'd die, and if I couldn't get a res or whatever, and I'd start running back, and I'd spend all day trying to find. I'd have the maps out, right, and I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm right there, and then I go here,
Uh,
and but it sounds terrible, but we all loved it. You know what I mean? We didn't know any better, and it was just it was cool. Ultima was like that originally too. I remember many times dying and just doing everything I could to get back to my corpse before it decayed, and hoping no
mhm.
one looted it. And if I saw it was bones, I was like, and get there in time, and it was like, yes. So
But that was
cool.
actually in Final Fantasy so, 11, I think, the online version. What they did is really cool because there were also boats and you could travel from the big cities from one to another.
Yep.
And they allowed fishing if you had fishing skills there. It was a very lucrative way of making money.
Just on your
So,
boat.
yeah, well, you didn't have private boats, but they
Mhm.
had like those public ferry boats, basically. But it was very much more lucrative to fish on those ferry boats than on land. So a lot of people started fishing on those boats, and then the ferry boats became way too overcrowded. So what they did is they basically added this very small percentage chance that when you take out the fish from the sea, that a kraken spawns on the boat, and
Oh
the
boy.
kraken was like super nasty. It basically wiped the whole boat with all the fishers on it, and that was super cool. So yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes the developers have really cool ideas how to do it. So
Yeah. Totally. What I always like to ask this: who do you think should be the next guest on the Pwncast?
so because again, I'm in boating. There is one guy called Brozan,
Yeah.
and he creates. I mean, he's in my enemy guilds of sorts, but he's such a cool guy, and
Yep.
he helps a lot of people. in the PVM channel to understand how does boating work. He creates really good tutorial videos, and yeah, I think a big contribution to the community. So, I mean, I would say either him or Trammy because he's so cool with
Yeah.
all the stealing stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, some Brozan is Home Dog on YouTube.
Mm,
And then yeah, he does really good videos over boating, and they're good because he'll do like my tier 11 poisoner boat run with commentary, and it's just him, doing a quick run or whatever, and I think that's really cool. Um, and so for a very short period, I'm in Sin. We were allied to
mm,
FS, and it was just cool being allied with him. He's good people, man, really good
mm,
people. Um, and then yeah, Trammy, you may know this, but he was really kind of my inspiration to make my first video, and just like the coolest guy ever, man. I sent him it and I was like, "Hey man, this was my first video. I just, after I sent you that message saying I really like your videos, felt inspired to make one." And he was like, "This is good, man." And it wasn't. It was terrible. But he was like, "This is good, man. Keep it up." And, then he commented on it, commented on the next one, and he started giving me pointers and sending me YouTube channels of like what where I can learn to edit different things and stuff like that. And even at one point when YouTube introduced shorts, which is like TikToks or Instagram Reels or whatever, he was like, "Man, I think you would do really good with these if you do kind of like what you're doing, just like a quick, minute long template video or whatever, for World of Warcraft." Because I was making World of Warcraft videos at the time.
mm,
And, he got on a call with me and showed me how to edit it and all that stuff. And uh, he didn't have anything to gain from that at all. He was just a cool dude, you know what I mean? That was there. And, he's just trammy. He's charismatic as fuck and cool guy,
yeah.
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's so cool. I mean, even, if you don't know him, you can think like this guy is so full of himself, but he's not. He's just cool. He's really.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch his video and I laugh most of the time. It's just hilarious what he does, and
Yep.
yeah, I mean, super cool. It's a pity that he doesn't
I,
play as much anymore, but I hope he
yeah.
comes back at least for Wildlands. So yeah, that's.
I used to show my girlfriend at the time a lot of his videos. I'd be like, "Look, you just gotta watch this. You just gotta watch
Mhm,
this. It's so funny, and the way he edited this and does this."
mhm,
And she would just be like, "Really?" Like, she doesn't care about Ultima, and but it was just funny, and like his rap videos. I've been using some of that music for the. I always do like one or two songs before my streams, and sometimes I'll use his two little UO rap videos, the music for it and stuff, and
mhm.
everybody's like Trammy, and I'm like, yeah. So that'd be a good one, man. Cool, both of them would be.
He
Well,
actually made a video where he was advertising his friend's vendor boat or something like that. It was
yeah,
just a small commercial, him jumping in the video, like, "Hey, come buy my stuff. It's so cool. This boat's gonna blow your mind." And he does some
yeah,
special effects. And it was like, God damn, I want to have this guy for my malls. I'll pay
yeah,
him 20 mil. Please do me a commercial. It's really, really
exactly.
cool. I mean, yeah.
He's good. He's good people. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, okay, man. So, tell everybody. I mean, uh, where they can find you. I mean, we get it Outland Malls. Just a little bit of contact info or anything like that, man.
Sure. I mean, I'm on Discord. Just the Gangstar, so the and then underscore Gangstar. You can message me there or come join the Discord for Outland Malls. I'm there posting stuff every now and then, or again, find me on the ocean. But it might end deadly for one of us.
Exactly, for sure, for sure. I learned my lesson.
Yeah, me
Awesome.
too, me too.
Yep. Well, cool, man. I really do appreciate you being a guest here on the Pwncast. I appreciate what you're doing for the community, and then also, allowing me to give out premium memberships and stuff on the Whiskey Saturdays. That's been a big hit. It's been a lot of fun. And for you guys out there, you guys will see a video come out shortly. Kind of me going over some of the stuff that you can see on Outland Malls currently, and things like that. But Gangstar, once again, man, appreciate you and Sandro a ton, bud. So
Thank you very much for having me, and it was really cool talking to you. And yeah, please keep up the videos. And to be honest, when I started, your videos helped me get into the game and also to understand how everything runs. So I also thank you in the name of the community for what you do, and especially all the new players who start, because they really learn a lot through you. And yeah, keep it up. Looking forward to whatever this year brings. And yeah, see you in game, I guess.
awesome, man. Appreciate you very much. Thanks for the kind words, guys. Pwncast Gaming out.